Technology Risk Part 2. This episode has 20 questions. For each question, take a moment to think through your own answer before I share a strong approach. Question 1. Risk culture. Risk culture. Give an example of how you would promote a risk-aware culture without making teams feel blocked or blamed. Here's a strong way to approach it. Frame risk conversations around how do we ship this safely rather than why didn't you think of this, and celebrate teams that proactively raise risks themselves rather than only responding to risks you find, which reinforces that surfacing risk early is valued, not punished. Provide self-service tools and guidance so teams can assess and mitigate common risks themselves without needing to root through a central gatekeeper for everything, which builds ownership rather than dependency or resentment. Nice. Let's continue. Question 2. Audit or remediation. Remediation ownership. A risk issue is overdue because multiple teams disagree on ownership. How would you move it to closure? Here's a strong way to approach it. Bring the disputing teams together to map exactly which team controls which part of the system the risk touches, since ownership disputes are usually really about unclear system boundaries rather than genuine disagreement about the risk itself. If ownership genuinely remains ambiguous after that, escalate to a shared manager or architecture owner to make the call rather than letting it stay unowned indefinitely, and document the decision so the same ambiguity doesn't recur for future related issues. Great. Moving on. Question 3. Leadership or behavioral. Incident communication. During a major incident with regulatory implications, how would you coordinate technical updates, business impact, risk reporting, and follow-up actions? Here's a strong way to approach it. Establish separate but synchronized communication tracks, technical updates for the response team, business impact summaries for leadership, and a regulatory or compliance-focused update for legal or audit stakeholders who need specific evidence and timeline documentation, so each audience gets relevant detail without the technical team having to filter for every consumer or non-technical stakeholders drowning in jargon. Keep a single authoritative timeline being maintained throughout, even if summarized differently per audience, so all follow-up actions and regulatory reporting are consistent with what actually happened. Alright, next question. Question 4. Technology risk. What is technology risk? Here's a strong way to approach it. Technology risk is the possibility that failures, weaknesses, or misuse of technology can disrupt business operations, expose data, create compliance issues, or damage trust. It includes risks from applications, infrastructure, cloud, security, data, vendors, SDLC, and operations. In practice, I manage it by identifying risks early, assessing likelihood and impact, defining controls, tracking remediation, and reporting residual risk to leadership. Let's keep going. Question 5. Technology risk. What are the different types of technology risks? Here's a strong way to approach it. Key types include cybersecurity risk, operational resilience risk, availability risk, data privacy risk, compliance risk, cloud misconfiguration risk, third-party risk, change or release risk, SDLC risk, infrastructure risk, and incident response risk. For a GCP platform, examples include overprivileged IAM, public buckets, insecure Terraform state, weak CI or CD controls, unpatched VMs, and missing monitoring. On to the next one. Question 6. Technology risk. How do you perform a technology risk assessment? Here's a strong way to approach it. I start by understanding the asset, business process, data sensitivity, architecture, dependencies, and threat landscape. Then I identify risks, score likelihood and impact, assess existing controls, calculate residual risk, agree on treatment options, assign owners and due dates, and track remediation through a risk register. I also validate evidence instead of relying only on verbal confirmation. Good. Here's another one. Question 7. Technology risk. What is inherent risk versus residual risk? Here's a strong way to approach it. Inherent risk is the level of risk before controls are applied. Residual risk is the risk that remains after controls are implemented. For example, exposing a customer API to the internet has inherent risk. After controls like WAF, IAM, TLS, rate limiting, logging, vulnerability scanning, and incident runbooks. The remaining exposure is residual risk. Nice. Let's continue. Question 8. Technology risk. What is risk appetite and risk tolerance? Here's a strong way to approach it. Risk appetite is the amount and type of risk an organization is willing to accept to meet business goals. Risk tolerance is the measurable threshold around that appetite. For example, a company may accept low operational risk for internal tools but have near zero tolerance for public exposure of customer data or production systems without logging. Great. Moving on. Question 9. Technology risk. How do you prioritize risks? Here's a strong way to approach it. I prioritize by business impact, likelihood, exploitability, regulatory impact, customer impact, control weakness, and time sensitivity. Critical risks affecting customer data, production availability, privileged access, or regulatory obligations come first. I also consider whether the issue is isolated or systemic across multiple teams or environments. Alright, next question. Question 10. Technology risk. Explain the risk management life cycle. Here's a strong way to approach it. The life cycle is identify, assess, treat, monitor, and report. First, identify risks through reviews, audits, incidents, threat modeling, and monitoring. Then assess likelihood and impact. Choose a treatment such as mitigate or accept. Implement controls, monitor effectiveness, and report status, trends, exceptions, and residual risk to stakeholders. Let's keep going. Question 11. Technology risk. What is a risk register? Here's a strong way to approach it. A risk register is a structured record of identified risks and their life cycle status. It helps track ownership, severity, treatment plans, due dates, evidence, residual risk, exceptions, and management decisions. It is important because it creates accountability and gives leadership visibility into the organization's risk posture. On to the next one. Question 12. Technology risk. What information should a risk register contain? Here's a strong way to approach it. It should contain risk ID, title, description, asset or process, owner, business impact, likelihood, impact, inherent rating, existing controls, residual rating, treatment plan, due date, status, evidence, dependencies, risk acceptance details, and escalation notes. For cloud risks, I would also include project, environment, service, data classification, and control mapping. Good. Here's another one. Question 13. Technology risk. How do you create a risk heat map? Here's a strong way to approach it. I define likelihood and impact scales, score each risk consistently, and plot them on a matrix such as low, medium, high, and critical. The heat map should show which risks need immediate action versus monitoring. I use it for leadership communication, but I always support it with details because heat maps can oversimplify complex risk. Nice. Let's continue. Question 14. Risk assessment. Walk me through a risk assessment for deploying a new cloud application. Here's a strong way to approach it. I review the business purpose, data classification, architecture, identity model, network exposure, dependencies, CI or CD flow, logging, backup, DR, and operational ownership. I identify risks such as public exposure, weak IAM, secrets leakage, missing monitoring, and rollback gaps. Then I score the risks, define controls, agree release gates, and ensure evidence exists before production. Great. Moving on. Question 15. Risk assessment. How do you identify technology risks? Here's a strong way to approach it. I identify risks through architecture reviews, threat modeling, control testing, vulnerability scans, cloud posture tools, audit findings, incident reviews, access reviews, change reviews, and interviews with engineering teams. I also look for patterns such as manual changes, unclear ownership, missing logs, weak approval workflows, and excessive privileges. Alright, next question. Question 16. Risk assessment. What techniques do you use for risk identification? Here's a strong way to approach it. I use architecture review, stride threat modeling, control gap analysis, FMEA, scenario analysis, audit walkthroughs, cloud security posture review, incident trend analysis, and dependency mapping. For cloud platforms, I also inspect IAM, network paths, encryption, logging, CI or CD controls, Terraform state, and data flows. Let's keep going. Question 17. Risk assessment. What is qualitative versus quantitative risk analysis? Here's a strong way to approach it. Qualitative analysis uses categories such as low, medium, high, and critical based on expert judgment. Quantitative analysis estimates risk in financial or numeric terms, such as expected loss, outage cost, or probability. In most technology risk work, I use qualitative scoring first, then quantitative analysis for high-impact decisions. On to the next one. Question 18. Risk assessment. Explain likelihood and impact scoring. Here's a strong way to approach it. Likelihood measures how probable a risk event is, while impact measures the business damage if it happens. Impact can include financial loss, downtime, data exposure, regulatory impact, customer harm, and reputational damage. A risk with high impact and high likelihood should receive urgent remediation or executive attention. Good. Here's another one. Question 19. Risk assessment. How do you calculate risk severity? Here's a strong way to approach it. A common method is likelihood multiplied by impact. Using a defined scoring scale, I also adjust severity based on control maturity, exploitability, exposure, asset criticality, and data sensitivity. For example, an overprivileged service account in production with customer data access is more severe than the same issue in a test project. Nice. Let's continue. Question 20. Risk assessment. What is FMEA? Here's a strong way to approach it. FMEA stands for Failure Mode and Effects Analysis. It identifies how a process or system can fail, the effect of each failure, the cause, existing controls, and the priority for action. In cloud risk, I might use FMEA to assess deployment failure modes such as bad configuration, secret leakage, failed rollback, or capacity exhaustion. Great. Moving on. That wraps up this episode. Nice work practicing, and see you in the next one.